So we're nearing season's end, not much more to go now. Riders are slowly drifting back onto the roads of the world, where some crossers won't be too important on the road, some might do well, some are already amongst the best, and one of them might just be the single most exciting prospect in road cycling. That one being Blanka Kata Vas. Blanka Kata Vas, or Vas Kata Blanka as you say in her native Hungarian, was born in the town of Kiskunlakadza on the 3rd of September 2001. Oh god, I'm getting old. Whilst I'd usually launch into some junior results to distract me from the fact that people younger than me are now actual professional athletes, today we're going to do something slightly different by diving into Hungarian naming traditions. See, Hungarian is the only language in Europe where the surname comes before the given name, middle names stay in the middle, which means usually in writing and in speech, Vas would be referred to as Vas Kata Blanka, Vas being the family name, Blanka a first name, Kata a middle name. This means that Vas Kata Blanka is the proper way to say her full name, Blanka Kata Vas is the western way to say it, Blanca Vas being the simplified also correct way. The commonly used Kata Blanka Vas, the way she was originally and I believe sometimes still is, referred to on a lot of official start lists and documentation, is actually a translation error and technically incorrect. It's so widely used that I doubt it's particularly offensive to her, but you know, I imagine it's actually nicer to get the name right. Anyway, onto the racing career. Vas comes from a racing family. Her parents are keen cyclists, her older brother is a former national cross cyclist, he is now though retired. Her younger brother is the current under 15 Hungarian cross champion, so yes, there's a male one as well. Honestly, it's tough to find much real verifiable information about how exactly Vas ended up racing and whatnot. The earliest official race I can find is the 2017 Toy Toy Cup round in Hlinsko, where an only just 16-year-old Vas finished 20th in the elite race. A week later, Vas would take her first elite podium, also at 16. She'd do so in Slovakia at the Grand Prix Dolna Krupa. She finished second there behind Janka Kezik-Števkova. The following month would see the European Championships. Vas would finish 17th in Tabor, a minute behind Chiara Teocci and Laura Verdonschot, who fought out the victory. Vas would, however, amongst others beat Noemi Rueg, Harriet Handen, Mario Norbert Ribeiro, Anna Kay and Evita Musique. On Boxing Day 2017, Vas made her World Cup debut in Zolder, being the youngest rider in the race by a fair margin and finishing 49th. After this, she'd failed to finish in Loenhout, finished 38th in Diegem, and in Baal entered 2018 with a 25th place. Vas's final race this season was a second place at the National Championships behind Barbara Benko. In the summer, Vas took part in the Youth Olympic Games and rode numerous mountain bike competitions. At the Youth Olympics, she took gold in the criterium and bronze in the girls' combined competition. Alongside this, Vas would slowly ride through the junior ranks on the mountain bike, but not reaching any major heights yet. The following cross season, Vas would start with a 7th place at the Toy Toy Cup in Unikov, before finishing second at the somewhat prestigious Grand Prix Poprad, behind Denise Betsema. Vas would then ride the Tabo World Cup and finish 34th, before coming to Belgium for the Kerstperiode. For Vas the crosser, and arguably for Vas the cyclist, this Christmas period would prove pivotal for her early career, though it started quite poorly with a failure to finish at Namur in the World Cup. She then would finish the World Cup in Zolder, before taking part in the very first junior women's cyclocross race. Loenhout has a history of being a promoter of women's cross. The first official women's cross was held in Loenhout in the 90s, and so Loenhout in 2018 organised the first ever junior women's cross. Riders on the start list included Zoe Backstedt, Leonie Bentveld, both Mirre and Senne Knaven, Gjörne Krabbe and Alma Johansson. However, the winner on the day would be Dutch rider Sophie van Rooyen, who nowadays rides for Park Hotel Valkenburg on the road. Briton Harriet Handen would finish second, she needs no introduction, and quiet old Blanca Vas would take third place, a third place that caught the eye of Dolcini Van Eyck's manager Mark Brakke. And yes, it's that Dolcini Van Eyck and that Mark Brakke. No, I'm not going into that topic today. Brakke mentioned how Vas caught his eye due to the way that between all these riders who were fairly established and comfortable in Belgium, Vas, who didn't speak a word of English or Dutch, still beat most of them, stating this said quite something about mentality and ability. Vas would continue to showcase both mentality and ability with decent performances in Diegem and Baal, but she saved her best for January. On the 13th of January 2019, at the age of 17, Vas became Hungarian champion at cyclocross for the first time. Weeks later, she would ride amongst the under-23s at the World Championships in Bogense. She ended up finishing 12th on the day, 35 seconds behind winner Inge van der Heijden. By the way, if you ever get a chance to watch this race, it's still one of the most fascinating crosses I've ever seen, and the stats list is like a who's who of serious talent. Like, she was beaten by 11 riders on the day, and all 11 of them are genuine serious talent nowadays. It's mad, honestly. In the summer, however, Vas would then go on to ride the mountain bike, where she finished 4th at the Junior Mountain Bike European Championships, sandwiched between Harriet Haanden and some kid called Pidcock. She would also finish 4th at the Worlds in the same junior discipline. On the road, Vas would win the junior national title and finish 2nd at the junior time trial. She would then take some top 10s at the Elite V4 series in Hungary before heading to the Road Worlds in Harrogate. Vas manoeuvred her way through all kinds of carnage to finish a very credible 7th place on her Road Worlds debut. And then came the winter of 2019, and with Dolcini support, Vas rode a proper cross season for the first time. She started the season with 2 seconds and a third in Austria and Slovakia, before coming to Belgium and finishing 10th on the Koppenberg. No biggie. An 8th place at the under-23 Euros will have raised a few eyebrows, but Vas's true breakthrough came in early December in Essen. Marianne Vos made her return to cross in an otherwise weakish start list for a TV cross, and whilst Vos just flew into the distance, Vas would fight off a small group including Anna Kay and Annick van Alphen to finish 2nd on the day, leaving commentators scrambling to try and figure out quite who she was. And a mystery she would stay, as the Belgian interviewing team ran into a slight language barrier. Vas also didn't have a clean kit with her on the day, leading to a complete scramble to find stuff for her to wear during the podium. Despite, or perhaps because of this slight chaos, Vas became a much more known name. She suddenly was on the map of cross. Hungary had a talent, and suddenly things were starting to click. A week later, Vas would finish 5th in Overijse, ahead of the likes of Sanne Kant, Christine Majerus and Evie Richards. Another week later, she would podium again at the Waasland Cross. Top 10s followed in Diegem and Baal, before a successful defence of her Hungarian title set Vas up for an impressive performance at the Worlds in Dubendorf in early 2020. Marion Norbert-Ribarol, back then still French, would romp to the victory, Vas getting the better of Anna Kay to take a silver medal. In the summer of 2020, Vas staked her claim as Hungary's best cyclist. She swept up the national time trial title on the road, finishing 2nd in the road race. She also took the national cross-country and marathon titles. On the road at the Euros, she finished 6th in the under-23 race, as current world champion Elisa Balsamo swept the jersey. She saved her best, however, for the mountain bike worlds. In the under-23 cross-country, Vas finished 2nd, beaten only by another ridiculous talent, France's Loana Lecomte. Celine del Carmen Alvarado was 3rd on the day in this race. Then winter came again, now in the winter of 2020 over to 2021, last season for those of you struggling to keep track. Vas's season debut was once again at the Koppenberg, and she once again finished 10th. Shortly after that, she netted a silver medal at the under-23 Euros behind Pidcock. Vas would keep on racking up the top 10s, including 2 wins in Eastern Europe, before roaring to her first World Cup top 10 in Tabor, finishing 4th and only missing out on the podium in a sprint with Denise Betsema. Vas would then finish 5th in Namur, 9th in Dendermonde. She was business in the World Cup now. Vas's final race of 2020 would ultimately be her best. On the 30th of December in Bredene, Vas would win, taking the biggest win of her career so far, until days later she repeated the feat by winning in Gullegem too. She then took 5th at the World Cup in Hulst, defended her national title again, and ended up 9th in the last World Cup of the season in Overijse, coming home to a 5th place finish in the World Cup overall and winning the Under-23 World Cup title. In Oostende, at the Worlds, Vas would again be up against a Dutch armada. She battled with Fem van Empel, Annick van Alphen and Inge van der Heijden for the Rainbow Bands, eventually finishing 3rd behind van Alphen and van Empel. Then on rolled the summer of 2021, and whilst on the bike she achieved quite a lot, her biggest win might have just been off of it. In April, Vas announced that she would be joining the best women's team in the world, SD Worx. Vas would join the team after completing a mountain bike season in the spring, racing amongst the under-23s, taking a 2nd place and 2/3. However, the breakout mountain bike performance of her career so far came at the Tokyo Olympics. As the Swiss swept the podium, Blanka Vas finished in a remarkable 4th place, announcing yet another discipline she belonged to the absolute elite of. After the Olympics, however, Vas shifted her focus to the road. At the Euros, Vas would race the under-23s again, finishing 2nd to Silvia Zanardi. However, slowly the road was starting to witness Vas too. It wasn't much later that Vas made her debut at the Ceratizit Challenge, coming to prominence on stage 3. As Annemiek van Vleuten did things that only Annemiek van Vleuten would even consider doing, Vas was part of the elite chase group she held off, eventually finishing 6th on the stage. The next day, Vas showed she wasn't too bothered by the efforts of the day before. She finished 4th in a tough uphill sprint, sealing 9th place in the overall standings. No mean feat for someone who'd only turned 20 on stage 2. A few weeks later, the World Championships came around in Leuven, and Vas decided to race the elites, a decision that she was evidently ready for if you look at the results she got. Despite having no teammates to rely on, Vas managed to get herself into the lead group, even following a few promising moves. In the end, she would finish in 4th place, only just being beaten to the bronze medal by Poland's Kasia Niewiadoma. With some better positioning, Vas could well have taken that medal, and maybe even a better one. She was seriously quick in that final sprint. Vas didn't need much time to recover. It was less than a month later that she would start her cross season with the World Cup in Waterloo, the opening round of the season. She'd finish 6th there, and then finish 6th as well in Fayetteville. Before in Iowa City, she'd improved to finish 3rd, finishing on a World Cup podium for the very first time in her career. Taking a weekend off for Zonhoven, she returned to the World Cup in Overijse, and at the mother of all crosses, one of the hardest courses on the calendar, Vas fought off fellow youngster Puk Pieterse to become the 3rd youngest rider to win a World Cup ever. Only Marianne Vos and Mathieu van der Poel had managed so at a younger age. Since then, however, fellow youngster Fem van Empel has managed to sneak under both her and Van der Poel's record. Vas would keep her good form going. She'd take 3rd on the Koppenberg and successfully fight off all but one of the Dutch at the European Championships on the Van Berg, taking an elite silver medal behind Lucinda Brandt. The rest of the season would see Vas continually finish in the top 10, the exception being Namur, where she failed to finish. Vas would start 2022 with a 7th place in Bâle, a 4th place in Hulst. She'd then become national champion for the 4th time and take a 3rd career World Cup podium in Flamanville. After a 5th place in Hoogheide, everything looked set for a grandstand Worlds in Fayetteville. However, Vas seemed to handle the jet lag badly, becoming a bit ill, suffering from headaches. On the day in her elite debut, 17th was the best she'd managed. Unfortunately, not the world title or the medal she was hoping for. However, that may still be in her future. Weirdly though, Vas isn't that much of a winner. It's strange really, she has lots of ability but it tends to end up in podium finishes. Vas has never won a European or rainbow jersey at any level of any discipline, but she does have a cross-country under-23 world silver, a cyclocross under-23 world silver and bronze, a cyclocross European under-23 silver, a cyclocross European elite silver, and an under-23 road silver, as well as a smattering of 4th places in the junior categories. She really is very close to breaking through. What Vas does have to her name, in cross terms at least, is 9 victories. She has to her name a standalone cross in Poland, a Toy Toy Cup round in Rimarov, the standalone Belgian crosses of Bredene and Gullegem, and the crown jewel, her biggest achievement so far, the World Cup Overijse. Alongside this, Vas has 4 elite national titles to her name, which is presumably the start of some Christine Majerus-esque run. Blanka Vas is one of the most technically proficient riders in the world. She just seems to glide over obstacles like they aren't even there, akin to Marianne Vos or Mathieu van der Poel. Her ability on the mountain bike sets her up very well for the more technical courses, places like Overijse where she of course took the victory. Vas, however, also has a remarkably big engine for someone her age, and is really strong as a climber too. Frankly, in a physical aspect, Vas is already close to flawless. I struggle to actually pick out what she's specifically good at, because she's quite good at everything really. I guess Vas's big weakness is more on the mental side of the game. Vas isn't the smartest rider, she lacks a lot of experience that her peers have. Combine this with Vas's tendencies to be a little bit stubborn, and you see that this is the area where Vas still has massive gains to be made. Or she could just become so good she doesn't really need any tactical ability like Peak Vos or Van der Poel. Vas is a really solid all-round rider, but the courses where she's at her best are places where tactics play a less prominent role and technique is more rewarded. Overijse is a prime example of this. She also suits the Koppenberg really well, and you'd think she'd fit really well with Namur as well, but she has a bit of a personal vendetta with the Citadel. Her big weakness is the faster, more tactical races, places like Tabor, Hoge Heide, Fayetteville. However, this isn't that much of a weakness, she'll just end up doing a bit too much work and then finishing a position or two behind where she ordinarily would have. It's not some glaring hole in her abilities. Vas also still needs to develop a bit more of an engine for the proper Dendermonde-esque mudfests, but you know, she's 20, that comes naturally the older you get. Now, there's no confirmation quite as to what Vas will be doing post World Championships. She was on the start list for Lille but didn't race. I think she's on the provisional start list for Gavre and Brussels too, but I'm not entirely sure we'll be seeing her. It could be over for the season. Blanka will be racing on the road and the mountain bike during the summer, that much we know for sure. The first race she's confirmed to be doing is the Amstel Gold Race on the 10th of April. She'll then race Brabant-Pijl on the 13th, the Flèche Wallonne on the 20th, and Liège-Bastogne-Liège on the 24th, rounding out her debut Ardennes campaign. Vas is also on to race the Festival Elze Jacobs before riding the Mountain Bike World Cups in Albstadt and Novo Mesto. I think this will be amongst the elites considering she rides cross and road with the elites, but I don't actually know that for sure. She might be slugging it out in the under-23 still. Vas will then try and defend her time trial and road titles in June before making her Grand Tour debut at the Giro in July. Post-Giro is not yet decided, and honestly I'd be surprised to see Vas step into Amstel with no race days either, but this is all the racing we know for sure. Imagine that more will probably come both before and after this block though. All in all, Blanka Kata Vas is one of the most exciting and interesting cyclists in the world right now. Part of that new breed of special talent that seem to be able to do absolutely everything. She is placing Hungary on the cycling map and doing so in such an exciting way. Vas is just the kind of person you can't help but wish to succeed. She's come such a long way since that stuttering stop-start interview in a damp tent in Essen 4 years ago, but she hasn't even remotely hit her peak yet. Women beware, Blanka Kata Vas is here, and she's going to win pretty much everything.